Okay, hi, I'm Nick. I am a very long-standing graduate student in geography. I'm in my eighth year. And I study shipping, container shipping, and the history of logistics. My field work is at the Port of Los Angeles and Long Beach and on container ships. And I also have been doing archival research, which is what the CC grant funded. So I don't have any beautiful pictures like the two other presentations so far, so I'm just going to sort of talk at you. Bear with me. So my dissertation looks at the fraught history and contemporary politics of maritime logistics. It makes two major arguments. First, drawing on archival research in imperial shipping archives and in shipbuilding archives, importantly, I propose a heterodox account of the origins of the logistics industry, beginning not with the well-known invention of the shipping container in 1956, which is well documented at this point, but with the Atlantic slave trade and with early modern shipping more generally, right? So I'm sort of trying to sketch out a prehistory of containerization. And then second, and this is sort of not really relevant for the CC research, but I should say it. Second, drawing on my ethnographic research, I argue that contemporary logistical systems are largely invested in reordering time and transforming everyday temporal experience, both for the workers within the industry itself, longshoremen, seafarers, etc., but more broadly for all of us who rely on globe-spanning logistical systems to bring us the things we need to live, which is to say all of us as consumers, right? So the grant from CC funded a crucial stint of archival research in London earlier this summer. This research forms the basis for the second chapter of my dissertation, which looks at structural and operational continuities between early modern ships and contemporary cargo vessels. In part, the chapter seeks to explain how colonial ideas about race and other kinds of social differentiation have been literally built into the technical substrates, labor hierarchies, and port processes that continue to structure global cargo flows today. I'm seeing lots of chatter, and I'm not going to have a chance to look at it until after. I will respond. So specifically in London, I looked at the papers of Samuel Bentham, who is the younger brother of Jeremy Bentham, the utilitarian philosopher. He's much younger. I think he's almost a decade younger, but they were very close, Jeremy and Samuel. Samuel was a naval architect and the British Inspector General of Naval Works from 1796 to 1805. Samuel Bentham incidentally played an important role in the invention of the panopticon, which Jeremy is often credited with, but Samuel himself actually drew up the initial plans and they developed it together. My research doesn't deal with the panopticon directly, however. Rather, in the late 18th and early 19th century, Samuel Bentham made a series of major technological contributions to British shipbuilding and shipyard operations. One of his most important contributions was the idea that ships' hulls should be internally divided into a series of separate transverse watertight compartments or cells so as to slow or halt flooding in case of a hull breach. These are called bulkheads today, right? And they're commonplace everywhere in all shipbuilding, sort of international standard at this point. Bentham is credited with introducing the bulkhead to English naval shipbuilding and then commercial shipbuilding in Britain and elsewhere in the world. Without the stiff internal hull support that bulkheads provide, numerous subsequent shipping innovations, including steel hulls, powered propeller propulsion, and the large-scale container ships that are commonplace today would not have been possible. As such, I hypothesize that Bentham's collected writings, ship plans, and technical drawings provide an imperial prehistory of the cellular container ships that today carry the bulk of global cargo. So in London, I looked at Bentham's diaries, which are in the British Library. I looked at a bunch of his ship drawings. He developed a bunch of experimental ships experimental hulls when he was the Inspector General of Naval Works, right? And all of these deploy the bulkhead. How am I doing on time here? I've completely lost track. Am I right? I'm assuming someone will jump in, so I'm just going to keep going. 1 minute? Okay, great. Importantly, one thing I discovered is that Bentham does not seem to have developed the bulkhead from scratch, right? He actually got it when on a research trip to far eastern Crimea when he was working for Prince Potemkin and Catherine the Great in White Russia, as it was known at the time. And he derived it from observing Chinese river junks, which are small square rig sailing ships. In ancient China, transverse bulkheads were very common. They've been used there for 2,000 years. They're actually a protected cultural, intangible cultural heritage in UNESCO's list, right? So that was a discovery, I think. There's a way, I think, in which now I can track the invention of the bulkhead in ancient China all the way up through imperial British shipbuilding, and then in the 1970s, jumping way ahead, right, the center of global shipbuilding moves back to East Asia, first to Korea, and now to China again. So there's this story I can tell in the chapter, which I'm quite excited about, which moves from ancient China to contemporary China and sort of tracks the bulkhead through all of these eras. That's all. Thank you.